Good evening, everyone. It's the Glamorous Granny. No drama. Who they to all the Bengals fans? Woo, woo, who they? We beat the Cowboys. I changed my glass a little bit. We're reading Everything Happens for a Reason. I can bring it a little closer. Here we go. Everything happens for a reason. I'm gonna lay back so everybody can see. Are we having fun yet? One of the most frequent comments people make after they're gone through tough times is at least something good came out of it. Hold on, let me position myself. Fall off my pillow. Um, I realize life is short, so I better enjoy it. Sometimes this section is to help you discover the play in life. Sometimes the realization is a lot more specific. I've heard people say that their difficulties taught them that life is too precious not to be savored, like meat. You savor it. Oh, there's Papa Smurf's mother. Anyway, but um, so they needed to spend more time traveling, fly fishing, dancing, hanging out with friends, lying on the beach, falling in love, reading great literature, or whatever is most enjoyable for them. This is the place where authenticity and pleasure meet. You might say, yeah, but isn't isn't enjoy life for just a cliche? Maybe for people who already enjoy life, but as you'll see with Jim, it's not a cliche for people who don't find it easy to enjoy life. Maybe you're one of them. Jim went through a lot to discover that for him, being true being true to yourself and being able to enjoy life go hand in hand. Jim got into college on a football scholarship. His parents were certainly too poor to have been able to send him to college. Jim looked back on the life. Uh, hmm, looked back on the life in which he'd been raised, and it scared him. He vowed his life would be different. He would work hard, take care of his business like Scarlett O'Hara, never be hungry again. Professional football. Hold on, I'm about to switch glasses because these ain't working for me. Hold on. Find my green ones. I don't even wear them too much. My green ones are better for me to read. Ta-da! Professional football was never in the cards with Jim. Instead, he went to work for a large and influential local insurance agency. And work is is the right word. Work would save him from the poverty he feared. He worked at finding the right woman to marry. He worked at having the right kind of relationship with her. He worked at bringing up his children in the right way. He worked at starting his own agency. Um, and he worked at getting to know the kinds of people that would help his business. Jim was one of those guys who, if you'd asked him if he was happy, would have said never. He never thinks about happiness, but I guess I'm living right, so I must be happy. Then, as Jim put it, things started happening in my life. A teenage daughter got in trouble with drugs. His younger child turned out to have developmental disability. Jim was diagnosed with arthritis. Both of his parents died within a year of each other. His most important client dropped a lawsuit in his lap when the guy ended up being underinsured for some disaster he incurred. Jim saw that he was in deep doo doo when he found himself asking people, "Why is this happening to me?" It just didn't make any sense to him. Among other things, he thought of himself as a significant contributor to good causes, writing big checks every year to Catholic charities and other philanthropists. One day, in the hope that he might magically square things with God and stop his run of bad luck, Jim decided to volunteer in the pediatric cancer unit of a local hospital. He had vague Mother Teresa's vision of himself mopping fevered brows, but the kids in the unit wanted to play. Even the sickest kid just wanted their lives to be a little more fun, but Jim couldn't help her. Help here. "You're no fun, mister," was the verdict one of the girls delivered. And for the first time in his life, Jim saw himself as a failing at some activity he set out to do. Here he was in the place of miracles and mysteries in an attempt to save his own life, and it was as if God Himself were delivering a personal message to Jim through the lips of a sick little girl. It was as if Jim had gotten as far off the beaten track as it was possible to go, and the only way back was through fun and play. At first, it felt like a curse, but this was the one thing I'm worst at, Jim said in his prayers one Sunday morning. Later, later that day, he found himself on the golf course playing the typical foursome of business friends, and usually Jim's concentrated the style of playing was earning him a low score. Then he saw the other three guys laughing and kidding as they approached the tee for the 18th hole. "Oh my God," Jim thought. "I've been ruining my own life. I've just been playing golf this whole time. These guys have been having fun. Every time I win, I lose." The meaning of what had been happening to Jim suddenly, suddenly, he'd been ruining the game, playing the game, playing golf. He ruined it. Ruined it. It became clear. Suddenly became clear. The last thing he needed is to do was to square things with God by being an even more diligent duty doer. That was his strong suit already. What had been missing in Jim's life was what had been missing in Jim. Here's what he told me. "I've been a religious guy all my life. I had completely missed the point of it all. God had given me so many gifts, but they were all summed up in the gift of life itself. You know, the gift of life." Wow. He missed the point. And the point of life was like the point of any gift. It's there for you to enjoy by being so grim. Geez, I've spent my life spurning God's gift. Everything in my life happened to bring me to those sick kids, and they taught me that I have a deep spiritual duty to enjoy myself as much as possible in this life God gave me. So, what did Jim do? Walked around with the lampshade on his head and wear t shirts with funny sayings? Of course not. For Jim, it was more like he relaxed away from the sense that he was responsible for everything. He relaxed into whatever opportunity there were for pleasure in life. He was able to play. He was able to play because he found the play, the looseness in everyday activities, the sense that he could let things go, let them take care of themselves, and let others take care of themselves. He started enjoying the people in his family that he spent so much time worrying about. He realized that the enjoyment was the only gift they'd ever really wanted from him. Untying knots. Why does cosmic kindergarten go to enormous lengths to teach what should be a simple lesson? It's because enjoying life is what some people need to be fully and authentically themselves. Really enjoying life doesn't have to mean running around doing new things. It often means allowing ourselves to get pleasure from our lives exactly as they are. But sometimes the only way to do that is to stop taking so seriously very things that rob us of pleasure. I'm talking about the worries, the ambitions, the obsessions, confusion, distractions, stresses that suck the blood of enjoyment out of what should be a happy life. I know we too often feel we have to take these things seriously. It's what we think it means to be responsible. But we think this until some life changing event comes along, puts it in all in perspective, and shows us how wrong we are. What about you? Here are the diagnostics questions. Deep down, do you feel you don't deserve to have fun? Growing up, did you get the message that life was grim and that work, no play, was the bedrock of existence? Have you always dreamed of really enjoying yourself one day but never got around to doing anything about it? Do people sometimes tell you that you take things too seriously? Is pleasure something you have to work at? Is it hard for you to enjoy yourself unless you can justify what you're doing with someone particularly pay off? If you answer yes to four more of these questions, then one of the reasons you went through what you did was to drive home the importance of enjoying yourself. Enjoy life, not taking things so seriously. It's interesting thought. Interesting though, sometimes the very people who need this lesson the most have the hardest time seeing and accepting it. Untying the knots. Eat your dessert. Big life changes, events don't happen to us just to bring us old news. The things that leave us hungry to discover the reason why they are life changing events. They teach us something we haven't known, or give us a gift we've never gotten before, or create an opportunity we've never even conceived of if we can't understand their meaning. That is how negative change gets transferred into positive change. But of course, it's the lesson we've been blind to that are hardest for us to learn. For many people, enjoying life is complicated issue, one that touches on deep parts of the self. It brings up worry. If you're enjoying life, then you're not taking care of business. It brings up guilt. You don't deserve to enjoy life. It brings up insecurity. You don't have the inner resources necessary for enjoying life. Somehow, while growing up, you got the wrong message or had the wrong experience. Let me tell you about Amy, who as she put it, was 36 with no kids and a bad attitude. Mm. She was a small, sweet looking woman, more like a cart carrier or a librarian in her navy blue skirt and white man tailored blouse than the police detective she actually was. It was only when she stood up and started walking around that you could see the steel of authority in her. What happened to Amy? Some disasters unfolded in super slow motion. That is how it was for her. Amy wanted to be married and have kids, although with having work and she cared about. But she had the misfortune of loving a series of men she thought loved her, but who all turned out to be jerks. When she talked to them about getting married, they all made it seem as if she was crazy and weak. They kept saying things like they weren't ready to commit. Then they dump her. Hmm. How did I get this? Kept saying things like we're not committed, ready to commit. Then they dumped her. How did I get sucked into all this? Amy asked. My whole life is based on being able to trust myself, but I can't trust myself now knowing that I stayed in these stupid relationships for so long for no good reason at all. Amy answered all yes to all six questions, but she still didn't see how the meaning of what had happened to her could possibly be that she needed to enjoy life more. She didn't even want to be it to be the meaning. To go through what I did just to see that I needed to have fun. That seems pretty silly as a reason for going through hell. Amy had been shown the truth, but she couldn't see it. People don't forget to enjoy life the way you might forget your wallet when you leave the house. The idea that life is tough and you need to keep your shoulder to the wheel and your nose to the grindstone is deeply ingrained attitude. People hold on to this attitude the way a man overboard holds onto his life preserver. Think about the way many of us have grown up. Life was hard for many of our parents. They had clothes, they had suffered, they had troubles, they had suffered from whatever mistakes they made. If they managed to achieve some kind of success, they may have paid a bigger price for it. Worry, struggle were the keynotes of most of their days and the most of their thoughts at night. Few of us have lighthearted parents. Then we kids show up. Kids all about goofing off, having fun, and that's what the anti-fun propaganda started. Quit fooling around. What do you think this is? A joke? You better buckle down. Deep down, we sense an edge in our parents' voice. They really mean it. They're concerned. They're scared for us. Fun and pleasure are a distraction at best, and too often pathways to failure. This is why it's easy for so many of us to miss the fact that the reason something happened is to show us how important it is to enjoy life. We're scared of thinking of life as something to be enjoyed. I knew it would be a challenge to bring Amy to the point where she could see this truth. Let's go through some of the questions again. I said, is pleasure and enjoyment something you have to work? For example, everyone can use all the diagnostic questions in this book, not just the diagnostic tools, but as a springboard for thinking about yourself in your life. Oh, absolutely, Amy said. I have a lot of trouble relaxing. I mean, I'll go out for a beer with some people after work and we'll talk, but I'm waiting to talk about work. I don't get small talk. Sometimes the other people start laughing and clowning around, and it just makes me feel very alone. And at home, I always want to be doing something. Sometimes I'll take a bath to relax, but I'll justify it as something that's good for me. Now, what about this? Do you feel you don't deserve to have fun? Hmm. Amy felt that she didn't want to, couldn't have fun. But untying the knot, eat your dessert, enjoy life. Everything happens for a reason. Good night.